Hey, you remember last year when we went to see all those monkey movies? That was a good time.
It really was. We should do it again.
Okay, so don't get me wrong. Wicked was phenomenal, but I just wish there had been a little bit more monkey in it. Like, what if the monkey was like one of the main characters?
Dude, I'm not even making this up.
Your ass is mine!
Okay, I think I've decided no more monkey movies for a while. That was pretty good. Anything else would just be too much. You know what I'm saying?
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today our movie in the middle is The Monkey. The Monkey is the newest Stephen King adaptation chronicling the lives of two brothers who, after playing with a toy monkey, witness a series of deaths and now must face it again when the monkey returns years after. It stars Theo James, Tatiana Maslany, Sarah Levy, Colin O'Brien, and Elijah Wood. So as you know, this was, like I had mentioned, my dark horse on my top 10 most anticipated of the year, mostly because of the trailer and the hype that brought me, because that was doing a lot of the heavy lifting. It was a very cool trailer. I liked a lot of the visuals, the music was great, all of it put together. I was very excited for this movie, even though it seemed like it was going to be one of those smaller beginning of the year ones. It could be a good surprise, it could be disappointing, but that was for The Monkey to decide. Starting off with the highs, my favorite is obviously the tone of this movie. I did not know really what Osgood Perkins had done before Longlegs. I had never really heard of him, and then he did that one, and I was like, whoa, he is really good at setting some dark tones. And this one was kind of interesting because it's definitely not as dark and creepy and serious as Longlegs. It's sort of right in the middle because it is a dark comedy. It's a black comedy. It's got serious gore and deaths in it, but it's also kind of funny and fun to watch in this weird way. It's wacky, it's odd, it's disturbing, and a lot of that has to do with the kills themselves, which before I get into those, I think we have a trailer problem. Because I noticed, especially this year, that after watching a few movies already, trailers are giving too much away. And I already knew this, for a while, that trailers, there was just too many of them. Like when Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them came out, there were 4 full trailers, plus TV spots, and a teaser. That's the entire movie. You just have to be able to... If I really sat down and tried to figure out what order this movie was in, I probably would have seen most of it and known where it was going. Of course, I'm not going to do that to myself. But now, it's really getting bad because they are showing full things that are spoilers in these movies. Take Novocaine, for example. When I saw that, it dawned on me that I had already seen 2 of the 3 main kills from the movie. One of them was literally the big joke at the end of one of the trailers, and then the other one wasn't super explicit, but if you slowed it down, you were like, okay, that guy's dead. And then another one is Sinners. It hasn't even come out yet, and I haven't seen that, but I can already tell that there's like 3 spoilers in there. It's just like, what happened to like, I don't know, alluding to things and making a trailer so good that people go to see it without already knowing what's going to happen? This is why Longlegs had such a good trailer, because it just built this atmosphere and this hype, and something real weird and original and unique is going on here, but we didn't know anything that was actually happening. Now you have The Monkey, in which, after I saw the movie, I was like, you know what? I already saw half of those kills. So, what the hell? So, my conclusion is, do better, trailers. Stop spoiling stuff for me. That being said, the kills in this movie are amazing. They are insane. Honestly, even for the ones that I had already seen in the trailer, there were parts of those kills that even surprised me. That there were things that they didn't show in the trailer, weirdly enough, that still made it really shocking. It's a very gory movie. And a lot of that has to do with, obviously, the look of the movie, the cinematography and the editing, which I think was all really, really great. Especially for having to put over this comedic tone with stuff that's, like, super disturbing or creepy or crazy. They did a good job of editing it in such a way that it's still a little bit humorous. And the cinematography is just so good. Like, it just looks fun. And I just like a lot of the shots, especially... I don't know why, but the shot where it just shows the tree with the red and blue flashing lights. It's very simple. There's just something about it. I don't know, it just looks real creepy. It was a cool shot. I liked that one a lot. And lastly, the design of the monkey and the rules of this entire cursed object were pretty cool. You know, the monkey, usually when you see a monkey like that, it's got the symbols, you know, like Toy Story 3, that kind of thing. In this one, it's a drum, and I don't know if that is how it was in the original story, or if they changed it, or if they didn't have, like, you know, they couldn't get the copyright to it or whatever. But it is pretty cool that it's slightly different. You know, it's got this drumming, and when, you know, the last one comes down, that's when something bad happens. So that's pretty different. I like that. You know, while still having sort of the same sort of design as that kind of monkey toy would have. Not to mention, it's scary as fuck. And the rules are pretty cool. Obviously, they're pretty simple, but they're able to kind of use those rules to make some really tense moments later on, because you're like, oh, okay, you know what? If that's the case, then this is the only option to do this thing, because then it'll kill that person. So, like, it was very interesting seeing how they kind of took those rules and bent them a little bit. My only middle, Elijah Wood is only in one scene. What is it with movies bringing on Elijah Wood, who's a funny and quirky actor, putting him in one scene?
And you are?
I'm the guy. The real guy.
Doesn't ruin the movie, but sucks. Okay, on to the lows. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of disappointed by this movie. Yes, it was a kind of a risk putting it at number 4 on my top anticipated of the year. I get that. But I was pretty disappointed with this, mostly for one big reason, and that is that this movie struggles to be both a stylized movie with interesting ways of having characters act and weird things happening, but also kind of a regular, normal horror movie. You know, it kind of has these generic moments in the middle of all these other things going on. It just didn't go well together. You know, if you had one or the other, like, if it was mostly generic, yeah, that probably honestly would have sucked more, but at least it would have been one full thing. This is like, we get a tease of it being a little bit more stylistic from Osgood Perkins, but not completely. You know, so it feels a little bit diluted. And a lot of that comes from the characters and how they act. Firstly, a lot of the characters, most of them, don't really react in a way that normal people would. And if this had been an entirely stylized movie, that would have made perfect sense. It would have been fine, because the characters are supposed to be odd and different. But when you have it be sort of a regular movie too, it's like, except for one or maybe two scenes, nobody really reacts in the exact intensity that I probably would in some of those situations. I think the one that really shows this separation between the two styles is the character of the mom. Because in one or two scenes in the beginning of the movie, she's sort of presented one way, being somebody who's very cynical and, you know, she doesn't look like she's a great mom. You know, she uses bad language in front of her kids, and she's talking to them extensively about death. And so it's like, oh, she's kind of a weird, odd person. And then the rest of the movie treats her like she's a great mom. She's very normal. She does regular mom things. She's telling them to stop using bad language. It was just real weird, this separation between how she was in the first third and then the second 2/3 of the movie. I just kept getting this sense that it kind of felt like the way Drive-Away Dolls did to me, where technically, yes, it's a full movie, but it just feels like it's not quite finished. That there's just something missing or off. And not off in the way that it's like, oh, Osgood Perkins made a weird movie, cool. It's off in the way that, again, it just doesn't feel complete, or it feels like it's, you know, kind of two movies put together. And aside from the mom, I thought that there were moments that, you know, while there were some good character moments with each other, I just didn't really think that the direction for the acting was that good in a lot of scenes. You know, either it's really strange, again, in a not good way, or it's just bad. There's one scene in particular when, you know, one of the brothers, they're at a funeral for one of the deaths that happened when they were younger, and there's this scene where he stands up, and I'm not going to say what he does, but if you've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. And that entire scene just felt like terrible acting to me. And I know he's a kid, but like the rest of the movie, they acted fine. So I don't know. And then I definitely just thought that the second half got a little too generic, you know, especially the ending. The stuff that happens is pretty interesting, especially for the plot. How it looks is cool. I don't know, it just felt regular by that point, you know, and I think it really hinges on this twist that happens sort of in the middle of the movie, maybe the last act of the movie, and everything before that had been okay. But after that, I can't really put my finger on it, it just didn't feel quite right. I didn't love it. I thought there were still some cool things with it, but I just thought it was a little bit too goofy. So overall, this definitely, for me, was a big disappointment. It's weird because I've seen a lot of reviews that were, you know, the general consensus is that it's fine. People like it enough. And for sure, there's a lot of cool stuff in this movie where I was like, whoa, like, that's insane. And I had a good time, especially with the first half to maybe 2/3 of the movie, with a lot of those shocking moments, with a lot of the style that came with whatever parts seemed more stylized. There was a lot of still that cool stuff, you know, and I liked the tone that it went for, you know, the atmosphere of the music and everything, but just story-wise, it just lacked a bit, you know, character-wise, it lacked a bit or was too different in spots. I just ended up thinking that it was okay, which compared to my hype for it and hoping that it was going to be a smaller horror movie that just made a really good impact. Unfortunately, I probably can't say that, at least for me. I'm going to give The Monkey a 2.5 out of 4. Well, guys, let me know what you thought of The Monkey, and how does it compare to other of Osgood Perkins' movies. He is a good filmmaker at times, but then it just doesn't seem to stick the landing all the time, you know? And as always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, and movies right in the middle. I'll see you guys later.